Welcome back, fellow Illumineers, to Be Our Guest. It's time to talk draft. Ravensburger has released official rules for draft and sealed over the weekend, and to help you get ahead of the competition, we've enlisted the help of the magnificent, the masterful, the magnanimous Wero the Great. Both Wero and I are avid drafters and have actually been drafting a homebrew format spearheaded by Knives Nerd Corner and Traverse Tavern over the last couple months. As such, we've got plenty of drafts and games to draw on to help you decide what to pick and when. Note, we'll be starting by covering solely commons and uncommons, as you'll be seeing and picking a lot more of them as they make up at least 75% of the pack. After we've got through all 6 colors, we'll come back with a 7th video compiling the rankings for all the rare, super rare, and legendary cards you can't wait to draft. So, if you want the key to crushing the draft competition at your local game store from 2 seasoned drafters, please be our guest. Welcome back, fellow Illumineers, to Be Our Guest. We have a guest today. We're doing draft set review today, and we've got a special guest, Wero the Great. Welcome, sir.
Greetings, Earthlings.
How are you doing today?
As you can tell, I have wet hair. I just got out of the shower. But I am ready to voice my howling screamer on some cards today. Awesome. Let's do this.
I mean, you want it to be all shiny and new for everyone for the camera.
Yeah, I got to be Ariel Suzitz. I'm sure we'll get to her.
Yep. Just come. Hey, so if you want to have a scene where you just kind of like come out of the water type thing, you know, flick your hair back.
See,
by all
that
means.
Doesn't work in real life. You don't get the like. It's just sopping and wet, and gravity exists.
I'm willing to give it a try and just see what happens on camera if you'd like. Let's get into how we're ranking things today. So at the end of the video, we're going to have a chart where you can see everything ranked all nice and neat. If you want to just skip to that, by all means. I know some of you like to skip to the end of the books, and that's fine. But the rankings that we're going to go through is we're going to go through S, A, B, C, D, F. And what does that refer to? So S tier will be first pickable cards, the cards that you want to slam down when you see them first in the pack. A tier will be ideally picks that you're going to get 2 through 4. So they're not necessarily first pickable. You would be satisfied with first picking them, but you want to see them in 2 through 4. B would be picks 5 through 8 where you're happy to see them. C would be cards that you're looking to wheel, but you're still happy to have them in your deck. D would be kind of the last picks, include if you must, hoping not to type thing. And F would be don't include unless you absolutely have to, you have no other choice, someone is holding you against your will. So that's the threshold here for what we're looking at today.
Yeah, I don't think I've scaled it quite so formally in my head. I'm mainly going to go with like gut reaction to like, do I want to see this in my deck? Sure. Because I think there's a bit more, once you're a couple packs in, you're like, okay, what do I need for this deck? And you got to be thinking about your color. You got to be thinking about what you already have. If your deck is just all bombs, well, if your other opponent has a bunch of 1-drops, they're probably just going to win anyway. Because you need you need balance in your deck. So
I have legitimately succumbed to that plan where I'm like, this feels like a late game type of draft format. Let me just draft bombs. And I lost horribly to like Mickey Mouse True Friend. So
yeah.
So the first card that we're looking at in the commons and uncommons in Amber is Ariel on Human Legs. What do you think, Wero? Ariel on Human Legs.
I think this is your stereotypical B card. It is dragged down solely by that single ability. I don't understand why she didn't get a little bit extra for that. Why not make her like a 4/4 or something? But she's basically Sinister Visitor with a small downside. You play her on turn 4, you ink her. It's not something you pass over necessarily, but it's not something that's your first pick.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, which is she's Sinister Visitor with downside, which is, I've got her at C as a result, because I'm not looking to pick her in my first 8. I'm looking to, like, the last kind of 4 picks, wheel her. But I will say that Sinister Visitor specifically has performed better in draft than I thought. That 4 toughness, willpower, sorry, still getting out of the Magic terminology. The 4 willpower has really made a difference. So there's something there, but I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah, and also songs are going to be less seen in draft anyway, because you're probably going to be looking more for creatures. So you're going to see songs less often, so it's less of an issue. It's still there, but it's less of an issue.
I mean, she is a princess, so that is slight upside. You've got like one of our next cards, Cinderella, and then you've got Moana. But I mean, Cinderella you might see, Moana you probably won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what do we got next, Vero?
We have Cinderella, gentle and kind. I love how she's Singer 5 on a 4-drop. Like,
just the littlest of boosts.
She does have decent stats for her cost. Like, she's basically Ariel, except we've shifted one strength to willpower, and then she has that you can exert her to heal. I'm still figuring out how good healing is. I think there is a niche for healing in this game, because if you can keep your stuff on the board, you're probably going to win because you have more characters, you can quest for more lore. But choosing between questing and that healing, I think is going to be a very tough decision that I think will lead to a lot of analysis paralysis during drafts of, what do I do? And I think in some cases you'd almost rather have Ariel. Ariel can also take out things more efficiently, even though she's a little easier to kill herself.
Yeah.
So I would rate her about even with Ariel. So I would probably also put her in B.
So, all right. So we're already seeing some fluctuation here, because I actually have her A. And the reason being is because I've seen, if you're an Amber, so this is assuming you're an Amber, right? Like, personally, and you'll see this kind of at some point in wrap-up or post, I'm not a huge Amber fan for draft, but if you're an Amber, then the bodyguard package is actually pretty accessible. You've got 2 commons in Simba and Goofy that you can access pretty easily, and the fact that she can heal your other characters, your princess characters more specifically, while your bodyguards are holding down the fort, means that you could probably get some advantageous attacks in there. So have the bodyguards holding down the fort, get the princesses in there, and have Cinderella kind of heal them up before the bodyguards succumb to their wounds. I'd have her at the low end of that. Like, I'd want her like pick 4. Maybe it's into B territory, maybe it's into pick 5 or 6, but I do think that there's something there, because there's a decent amount of common princesses too, between Ariel, between Minnie, a few others, and
I think
right?
I would love to see a princess bodyguard, maybe like a Raya eventually.
Cool. Yeah.
Then I would rate Cinderella a little higher.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. I mean, I think you might have swayed me. I think I might be talking myself into the B territory. All right. So speaking of bodyguards, we next have Goofy Musketeer. Where do you have Goofy at?
I think also maybe B plus. I love when it was first revealed. It's like, oh, there's a Musketeer deck, and then we saw there's just the 3 of them, and Goofy's playability is almost never relevant. But he is a 3/6 bodyguard. That in itself is usually very relevant. I think Palace Horse is a slightly better body for that, but Goofy's still not bad, and he's uncommon. You will see him more often. I think B plus A for Goofy.
Yeah, I'm in A as well, and specifically that 6 willpower. Again, like 1 willpower for me can make a huge difference in the bodyguard, having that 6th willpower, because what can you think of that's relatively common, again, common, uncommon, that we're not going to see necessarily frequently, can actually take it down before like 7 drop. Like, we've got Kronk, and that's about Captain in Ruby. But otherwise, there's not too many 6 strength that are kind of easily accessible in draft. So I think that 6th willpower is going to make a huge difference. Now, obviously, 3 strength isn't doing a lot on the backswing. But I
mean, it's doing something. Like, you could jump to Captain's Hook into that; they'll die.
Yep.
But one other way you could try to take down a Goofy is with support. But you're not going to be able to draft too much of that in draft.
There's a few accessible once we get into Sapphire, but certainly it's not. I mean, it's very, very much not accessible in many colors, and probably not a ton of people are going to be drafting Sapphire. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So next, we've got what are we on here? What's the next one there?
Hey, Boat Snack. Speaking of support.
Yes. Speaking of support, though.
Yeah, he gives a little nudge. But that nudge can be very useful. Yeah. There's a lot of cases where strength is just under willpower, and Hey gives that little nudge. He's not as showy as like Merlin or Palace Horse, but it can still be helpful. His own body is very easy to remove, but I would put him. I'm just putting everything in B right now. I think most of Amber is pretty solidly B. There's some stinkers in here, I guess, but I think Hey, again, you're not slamming him. He is a common. He's fine.
Yeah. I've got him at C. Just a little bit of metagaming here. I'm pretty sure he's going to wheel most of the time. But also just the fact that, you're probably only getting maybe 1, maybe 2 supports out of him before he's ultimately exterminated. Poor Hey. But... Okay.
So you're thinking like the whole meta strategy of like wheeling and how can I grab him later, as opposed to like, what is my first pick?
I'm trying to get as much value for our viewers as possible. If you can, know the ones that I'm safe to pass him along because I'm going to get him back, right?
That's certainly fair, but that's also going to be like in your pod. Like, do you know what colors people are picking? And I think that's a whole other video. I'm just thinking, how well is he going to perform in my deck, just purely isolated? Yeah. And I think that is a B. He is a 1-drop. 1-drops can win games because they start questing real early. If your opponent doesn't have a 1-drop, especially if you're going first, that can give you that head start that they just never catch up to.
Yeah, especially if you're playing best 2 out of 3, which we have been. You might not drop him on the first turn, in the first game, not knowing what you're up against. But if you know that they're a slow player, got a slow deck, absolutely, like throw him down turn 1. I don't care if you're supporting or not. Just eke out, 2-3 lore out of him, and then whatever you get past that is gravy.
Exactly.
I have had quite a few games where I'm like, if I just had 1 more strength, things would be great. So yeah, he can work for that, absolutely. All right. Things drop down a little bit. We've got LeFou Bumbler next. What do I even have LeFou at? I've got him at an F.
I would put him at maybe like C or D. He does have 2 lore, but there's no Amber Gaston right now. Yeah. So he is strictly worse than a Regal Princess, but he is 2 lore. So that's.
But he's so fragile. Like, would you play an action card that was 2 ink, gain 2 lore? And deal 1 incidental damage to your
Yes, I absolutely would play that because that wouldn't be vulnerable. Yeah, that would not be vulnerable to cannons. And that's the thing, is he is vulnerable to cannons, but now that we've seen the full set, when we first started doing this, and it was such a restricted card pool, cannons were everywhere. But now it's a lot harder to get that large cannons package, and especially pairing that with Captain the Jolly Roger. I think he's not as bad as you're making him out to be. He is 2 lore. I would
when he trades unfavorable, he doesn't even trade with the very, very common 1-drop 2/2s. That makes me terrified.
And that's why he's a C. Yeah, but he's still 2 lore. There's a reason why Lilo Making a Wish is a rare. 2 lore is 2 lore.
If you're a very aggressive deck and don't face off against like steel, then maybe. But I don't know. I'm not sold, but it's okay. All right, who do we got next?
Next up, we have Maximus Relentless Pursuer. I would put him as an A. He is only lacking the 1 willpower off of a vanilla character we would expect for this ink, and he has a very good on-play ability, especially in draft, where being able to have your stuff survive and quest for longer is very important. And so this is it's proactive healing. It's you can also help make sure a character survives in the first place, because you can't heal a dead character. I'm vanished. So Maximus is great.
Well, sorry to disappoint. I've got him at a C, actually. Because I actually value, you mentioned he's 1 off the 4 willpower. I actually value him less than those 3/4s. So the many 3/4 1s, I've just seen that 4th willpower be the difference between being able to 2 for 1 relatively consistently in the early game and not. And yeah, if you can get off his ability effectively in a way that removes an opponent's character and leaves yours alive, then he could be a 2 for 1 as well. But I've just found that those circumstances are less common than the 3/4 accomplishing that. Again, I'm talking about the early game. In the late game, neither of them is going to be particularly impactful. But in the early game, I've just found that the 3/4s tend to result in more 2-for-1s than the.
So here's my counter argument to that
Sure.
is sure you're getting something similar between Maximus versus a 3/4. So if I have Maximus versus say the wardrobe, I play Maximus turn 3. I give my 2-drop or my 1-drop the ability to take out an opposing character that otherwise would have killed them in return.
Yep.
So I have more stuff on the board than my opponent does. Whereas I play the wardrobe, and now I'm saying, hey, you challenge into me. And sure, maybe I'll get another quest off, but my opponent now gets to choose the favorable challenge.
Sure.
So with Maximus, you can make a more favorable trades that you have the better board.
Yep. And that situation is definitely going to come up. I don't want to say it's going to be uncommon, but you're thinking a best case scenario here. And what happens when I've got Minnie Mouse on the other side of the board, a 2/3, and you got a 2/2, and you got no other 3-drops, and you're like, well, I got to play Maximus to be on curve, but he's not going to do anything.
Well, that's why we run 1 and 2 drop. I'd like to do the aggro style. I make sure I have all those cheap things. You talked about Mini Beloved Princess. I got a Hook Forceful Duelist here. Yeah. He's been there since turn 1. You throw down your Mini like, haha. Minnie is at least going to get rid of Captain. I'll be like, nope, here's Maximus. Minnie's gone. Hook is still here.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't even like losing Minnie into Captain Hook, even without Maximus. Yeah, no, I still think he's playable. It's just, and again, to some extent, maybe I'm metagaming a little bit here in that I've seen him come around so often that I don't feel the need to be picking him up early. I think, quite frankly, if you're Amber, you should be looking to wheel most of that color. Early pick your first color and look to wheel all of Amber.
Well, I think that's just been like the meta of our own personal little online group. I think if you get like friends or whatever, or strangers like looking through packs, some people are going to be looking through Amber. And if you have people picking evenly through the colors, then I think you're going to want to pick Maximus over like Mickey Mouse True Friend or things like that. Definitely over LeFou.
Please over LeFou.
So I got him at A.
All right. Mickey Mouse True Friend. What do you think?
Speaking of. I'd be this. He's a vanilla. He's got 2 lore. 2 lore is great. He's fine. Like if you play Mickey Mouse True Friend on turn 3, you play Ariel on Human Legs turn 4. You're playing a very vanilla game, but you're getting plenty of lore. They'll trade. They'll get rid of stuff. What do I say? He's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's the epitome of fun, because I think there's others that fall into that category, more in the C range. But I agree with B. Yeah, I've been, more specifically, I've been pleasantly surprised by it, because I completely wrote off the series of 3-cost 3/3/2s. But I've been pleasantly surprised. So I think they're worth picking up in that 5 to 8 spot. Yeah. All right, what do we got next?
Next up, we have Minnie Mouse Beloved Princess. I would put her at either B plus A minus. If I have to pick one, I'll probably pick A. As we'll see, there's a better card with these stats soon enough. But Minnie she gets rid of any 1-drop other than the 2 1/3s. Solid. And she can usually survive. I think the only one she doesn't survive is Hook. She can get rid of any 1-drop. She can get rid of a lot of 2-drops. She will 2-for-1 a lot of the time. You can safely quest with her. She's great.
I mean, but you're picking her like in your first 4 picks?
Okay. Again, I've got a fully different rating system than you. I'm not going by that. I'm going by like how good is she going to
relatively
perform?
speaking, right? You only got 12 picks. So if you got like B plus A minus.
Okay, yeah. Then... If I'm looking at a pack and I have already put myself into Amber and I'm looking at, again, we're not thinking about legendaries right now.
Sure, yeah.
We've already picked our bombs. We're on picks. If commons, uncommons, I'm only going to put a common or uncommon in S tier if I would pick it before a legendary or a rare. Yeah. So I think Minnie is a solid pick after you've picked out all the rares of the colors you're in. Honestly, above a lot of the other stuff. I would pick Minnie over Mickey. I would pick Minnie over LeFou. I would pick Minnie over Goofy. I would pick Minnie over Ariel on Human Legs or Cinderella.
What about Protective Cub?
We haven't gotten there yet. We have
Since
not gotten
that's the
there
only
yet.
one that I've got above Mickey Mouse, actually looking at my list now, I pretty much have everything. You know what? I wasn't even considering this, but now it appears that I took my own advice, which is just try to wheel all of Amber. Looking at my rating system. So I have her at B. I've got her in the last part of kind of the fresh packs before you start wheeling. So picks 5.
Okay, in this fantasy universe where you pick Amber for draft, which I have done successfully, Minnie is an A. I think she's very good for her cost. There is a lot of synergy. There's princess synergy in Amber. There's low cost synergy in Amber. If you happen to get a rock star, she's A.
Did you ever get off Rockstar? By the way, I was watching your video.
Yes, I have gotten off Rockstar in draft. I have gotten shifted Rockstar off in draft. He usually dies pretty quickly after that, but I know it's real awful.
All right, well, we'll talk about him when we start getting into legendaries and all that. All right, we're on Mr. Smee, Loyal First Mate. The 2/5. What do you think?
B or C, like. For 3, he's a 2/5. Sure, he will stick around, but he is now a 3-drop. We should be looking at, can you take out a 2-drop? Mr. Smee takes 2 swings to get rid of Minnie, beloved princess, and then he's out. What has he done? What has he done this entire time? He takes 2 turns to get rid of a 2-drop. He's a C. I've talked myself down to a C. Like this. No.
Funny because I had him at C and I'm talking myself internally down to a D. Basically, like, I'm not happy to have him in the deck, but I'll include him if I have to. Because thinking about it, I'd rather have the 3/4 than the 2/5. Like, I value that 1 extra point of strength.
Until I see any kind of pirate synergy, Mr. Smee, I don't care.
Yeah, and even then, getting synergies in draft is tough. Like, unless there's like we're drafting 3 sets type thing, and there's like a slew of captains and all that. Yeah. All right. What do we got next?
Next up, we have the comic Ravensburger Dragon Slayer.
Gosh, if this was a rare, I'd be so upset.
I want to like Prince Philip. He is like the best removal Amber really gets, but he's uninkable. He costs 4, and he usually doesn't do anything. I think I really have to put him at a C. Yeah. You're paying 1 more for a Mickey Mouse True Friend that might get rid of something, but because he's on the field, your opponent's going to be questing a bit more smartly, and then you need to quest with him, and then if people swing into him, then he doesn't do his thing. So yeah, C.
So I've actually got him at D again, and simply because
he is
I don't think the uninkable is necessarily as big a problem in draft. I don't know if you've had this issue, but I just feel like, you're drafting a lot more commons and uncommons, which there's much less that are uninkable. So I don't necessarily have that problem with him. The problem with that I have with him is the problem that I have with him in general, which is that it's relatively easy to play around. Like, either he sits there, like you just stare at each other across the field, you with your big guys and him there, because the second he quests, it's done. Or, you put some bait out there of like the 3/4 or something, and it's like, congratulations, you've taken down a 3-drop that you wouldn't have taken down otherwise, but for your ability.
I mean, if you can give him rush with like cut to the chase, but then you're spending 6 on what's basically a Dragonfire.
Exactly. And also, if I need another card to make a card playable, then it's not really playable in the first place. What I want is other cards to make my good cards amazing, rather than an unplayable card playable.
Yeah.
All right, Pumbaa, you were talking about. Let's hear it. Let's hear it for Pumbaa.
Sure. He's for 1 more ink, we get 1 more strength over Mr. Smee. I mean, I was a little surprised by how it seems like at 4 ink we only get a 4/4 with 1 lore, or we get a 3/5 with 1 lore. Like, that just does not seem particularly favorable compared to the 3 and 2 drops. Pumbaa, I'm putting in C, because by the time we're getting up to this high of an ink cost, even at 4 ink, I expect you to do something.
Yeah.
And a 3/5 isn't much better than a 3/4. Like, there aren't many instances where something that kills a 3/4 is not going to kill a 3/5, because at that point you're usually throwing two things into it anyway.
Yeah.
C.
Yeah. I'm not far off. I got him at a D just because I'm not comparing it to one more strength than Mr. Smee, who I already don't like. I'm comparing it to one more willpower for one cost compared to the 3/4s, which I do like. And I don't really want to pay an ink just for one more willpower. Again, if I have to have him in the deck because I don't have other options, then he's going to serve a purpose. He's not going to do nothing. But
now, if he were a 4/5, like I was thinking he should be, looking at Cerberus, who is amazing for his cost, then would be having a different story here. But no, he's a 3/5.
Even Jumbajuka, right? He's 5 for 4/5/2 lore, so 4 for 4/5/1 lore, I think would be a fair piece there. So
you would have thought.
Yeah, right. All right, so we've got my slew of D's here because we're into another banger, which is Sebastian Court Composer.
It's D or F. Like,
fair.
Again, we talked about this. We talked about this with Ariel. Like, you're not going to see that many songs in draft, and Sebastian already isn't the best with that anyway. He is more often than not going to be a 2/2 with 1 lore for 2, which is awful. He is a 1-drop. Those are 1-drop stats for 2 with an ability he will never use. Because all the good songs cost 5.
Right? Exactly. Singer 4 is such a wasted ability in this set.
Yeah.
I have him at D only because he's inkable. So, I'll give him that much.
He'll proc Rockstar if you get one. Like,
there you go.
No.
Now, on the other hand, what's our next one?
Simba Protective Cup S tier. Again, I had Mini in A tier. Simba is Mini plus good stuff. He is a bodyguard. S tier. I will pick this over some legendaries.
Really? Well, I mean, definitely over some legendaries. You know what? I shouldn't say that. You're right. Well, not over the legendaries in Amber. Over definitely some rares and super rares for sure.
Yeah, like, I'm absolutely picking this over King of Olympus. Like
100%. Yep. No, I agree. I think I've got him at A just because I'm thinking that my first pick is almost always gonna try to hopefully be a really good rare plus. Because we've got access to several of them in the packs, right? Go ahead.
Why I have him in S tier is Bodyguard is fantastic in draft.
It is.
There is so much less action removal in draft. You don't need to worry as much about cannons or swords or dragonfire or whatever else, because most removal is going to be challenges. So I put out my rare was Lilo making a wish. Here she is.
You can get that off in draft.
Yeah, I have gotten that off in draft. I have. It's so much fun because, and then like you go up against other decks, and we'll see this in Steel. Bodyguard just shuts down attempts to get rid of high priority targets.
Yep.
Simba costs 2.
Yeah, there's no more efficient Bodyguard.
And even at like later points in the game where everyone has high ink anyway, him just being a roadblock, not even a roadblock, but a speed bump, he prevents 1 challenge.
Yep.
That's awesome. That is a higher likelihood that your high lore character survives.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like I'm happy with him in that space, even in the late game. As you want to attack my 2 lore characters, you want to challenge them, but sorry, here's Simba.
Yeah, if you have a pack that has a rare left and a Simba Protective Cub left, you take out the rare, hand that off. You're not seeing Simba on the wheel.
Yeah.
So you need to think real carefully. Is that rare going to do more for you than Simba? That's why Simba's an S tier for me.
Yep. All right. So we got Stitch New Dog now. So we got a slew of 1-cost 2/2/1s in the set. What do you think of Stitch specifically?
A tier. So I would put Stitch at A+, because I would put all of the 1-ink 2/2/1s at A tier. Stitch is a shift target for Rockstar. If you happen to get Rockstar, that's fantastic. I had one draft deck that was 3 new dogs and a Rockstar. And getting out Rockstar on turn 4 is insane. It wins drafts. And these are the best stats for a 1-drop, I think. I've heard arguments for the 1/3 because they can survive, but sure, they're surviving, but there's also being able to trade up.
Yep.
And this is why I have many in A tier, is because a lot of the other 2-drops, they have 2 willpower.
Yep.
And these 1 ink 2/2/1s can just take out all of them, and they cost less.
Yep.
I think these are fantastic. You drop it on turn 1, you quest or you challenge into something. They are early board presence, and yes, please. 8.
Yeah, and when they're 2 willpowers, 2 costs on the board, they don't even want to trade it with Stitch, so you can probably get 2 or 3 lore out of him before he has to stay at home or combine with something else to do damage.
Mm-hmm.
I've got him at B just because, again, I'm thinking that I don't necessarily want to spend my first couple picks on him, but I would say it's like, for me, it's like A minus B plus territory, so I'm not far off from it.
Yeah.
Now, in contrast, who do we have next?
We have Timon Grub Rustler. I would honestly rather have a Dingle Hopper than Timon Grub Rustler. Unless I have already drafted Rockstar and I need more little drops. Timon, his on-play is almost never impactful, and that makes him usually worse than Hey Hey.
Yeah, he's bad at all points of the game. You don't want him early because there's nothing to heal, and you don't want him late because healing one time and then having a 1/2 body is like.
There's definitely a place for him in constructed, but in draft, C or D tier.
Yeah. All right, we're on to the action cards now, and I'm glad that this wound up for me to announce, because we've got Be Our Guest. Sadly, and I will continue to say this, we did not name the channel for the card. It's not great.
It again, this is a dependent on what else you have drafted. Yeah. If you have managed to snag a spectacular singer, or you have other singers, or for whatever reason you decided to pick Ursula's shell necklace, and I have no idea why you do that in draft.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, you will pick up Be Our Guest because it is a song. Yeah. The main thing with Be Our Guest is inkable. And what I like about it is it's an inkable that you don't feel bad about inking. Yeah. Because what it's going to do is replace itself if you play it, which, okay, I'll just ink it. So I put it into constructed decks because I know I'm probably just going to ink it. And if I draw into it on a later turn, I'll get some draw out of it. For draft, I would probably put it at C, maybe B, like a C plus B minus, because most of your deck is going to be characters anyway, but on a later turn, it can help you filter to a better character potentially, and it can be sung. It's inkable, so like highly low.
So it's not an F. Inkable for me, not an F. I've got it at C just because, later on you can filter to one of your better characters, but even if you got like 1 or 2 bombs in your deck, the likelihood that you're going to see one of those is relatively small, and pretty much everything below your bombs is probably going to be relatively equivalent, such that if you added 2 cost onto their cost to play them, you'd just rather have the least of those. So just drawing a character instead of that card would probably be better, any random character in your deck. So
and also, like, going by
playable, but
going by your metric of what part of the pack do we want to pick it, this is never your first pick. Never, ever. This is the last Amber card, fine, I'll take it, is usually what it is. But if you have somehow managed to make a miracle song deck and draft, then you'll be happier to have this, and in that case it's more of a B, but in general it's a C.
All right, we've got another inkable card, so that's good. What have we got next?
Control Your Temper. Not the worst thing, but so this is Maximus without the body. And I think I would usually prefer to have the body. It is inkable, but I'm still going to have to put it at a C because it doesn't do enough, I think. On Maximus, so there's a lot of effects that are good because they're on a body.
Yep.
And so this is a C.
I've got it at a D just because, again, it's inkable, but I'm very much against single-use action cards that don't have a big impact. And this just really doesn't. And in draft, I just find traditionally that it becomes such war of attrition that you need every resource you can get, and just spending an ink to maybe trade up or maybe survive a trade, is not great.
Yeah, these sorts of effects are better in something like Magic, where you can have like instant interaction and combat tricks.
Yes.
Whereas,
but even then, combat tricks traditionally in Magic are not draftable.
They absolutely they are. They win you drafts because it's about keeping stuff on the board.
Yeah, we're not talking about Magic, so we might have to have this discussion offline. All right, next we've got Hakuna Matata, which you were already saying you don't know what place healing has in draft, and I don't think it's got much of a place.
Costs 4.
You can sing it with Sebastian, though.
How often are you going to have a board of at least 3 characters, at least 4 characters, because this costs 4, at least 4 characters that all have damage on them?
Yeah.
So that have survived but have damage on them. Like maybe your opponent did a grab your sword and didn't finish the job. Like how often is that going to happen? It's just not.
No.
Maybe like you've done like some trading afterwards.
Yep.
But I would probably rather throw down a character than this.
Yeah, no, 100%. So again, for me, it's inkable, so it's a D. You know, if you just had no other choice but to stick this in your deck, it's inkable. So, yeah. Speaking of healing.
Honestly, I think this is going to be an F for me. This is always the last card picked from a pack. Because
and a frying pan. Don't forget dear frying pan, but in amber.
We are not in steel yet, buddy. This is an amber. So this is my first F pick. This is the last thing you see.
Yeah.
No one wants this.
Yeah, I mean, despite my argument that inkable means D, I think of all the inkables that you don't want in your deck, this is the lowest of them, so I'm going to put it as an F as well.
Yeah, these are the Healing Glows and Control Your Tempers are the first things I take out of a deck if I've gotten more than 40 cards from a draft.
Yep. All right, you mentioned... Oh, no, we got, 2 left here. We got You Have Forgotten Me. What are your thoughts?
So,
there?
Okay, we had a little bit of talking about this off camera yesterday. So here's my argument for You Have Forgotten Me.
Yep.
By the time you're able to play it, so turn 4, presuming both players have been playing and inking a card every turn, if you're going first, the other person has 2 cards in hand. By the time you're able to play this. So you play this. They have no hand. You brought up that, it's not a character. You're not adding to your board presence, but you're now preventing them from adding to their board presence. And especially in draft, you need to be inking every turn. And if you wipe out your opponent's hand, they are now top decking. And at 3 or 4 ink now, they now have to make a decision. Do I play a card or do I ink? Because they can't do both.
Yeah.
And that can ruin a draft fully. That can remove all momentum of a possible deck. Especially if they were like, they held onto like bombs in the mulligan. You're like, nope.
Yeah.
Like it's a preemptive Dragonfire that hits 2 cards. I'm not putting it into S tier. I don't think I would even put it into A tier, but I am going to hold it in B tier because I think there is a place for it. And I think there is a constructed archetype that is not necessarily fully there yet. I think we need to see a couple more discard cards.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a very powerful tool in that toolkit.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, see, this is where, and this is why it's lovely to have 2 different voices on, because you're an optimist, and apparently I'm a pessimist, because I'm always thinking of what happens when I top deck this, turn 8, and our hands are empty, and we're in top deck mode. It's like, well, I have an ink. Yeah, certainly, especially if you can sandbag it till they've got 2 cards left in hand, and chances are those 2 cards are expensive and thus bomby cards, because they've been holding on to them so long. Beautiful, right? Just glorious. But unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily line up all that often. Historically, in other games, an effect like this, which costs 3 in other games, but that's all right. Everything's relative. Is fine, but a pretty low pick. So I've got this at C.
Mm-hmm. I keep going back to Magic. I was doing a March of the Machine draft a couple days ago and got hit by these discard effects, and I could not recover from that.
Yeah, but that's like Survivor's. What's the not Survivor's Guilt? It's like the
Survivor's Bias.
Yeah, thank you.
Survivorship bias.
Yeah.
I didn't survive. I was beaten.
Yeah, but it affected me, so it must be good, right?
No, but I keep getting affected, and just think from a mathematical standpoint. I think there is a place for it, and yeah.
C for me. Keep in mind, C for me is still. I'm happy to have it in my deck. Yeah. I'm just not looking to draft it until the end of the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not against having it in the deck. I'm just like, I'm not, jumping up and down like, first pick, you have forgotten me. All right, let's wrap things up with Dear Dinglehopper.
Yeah. The Dinglehopper C. Like, the thing this has going for it is repeatable.
Yep.
It is inkable. Mm-hmm. And it is harder to remove because the only item removal right now is Steal or Befuddle, and no one is picking Befuddle in draft.
Please don't. So I also like it because at a 1 cost, in draft decks, you're very rarely like getting a perfect curve. So you almost always have kind of 1 ink left over at some point in the first few turns. And so you can easily just kind of toss it out when you've got time to.
But I think there's a trap there because any inkable card can be ink. So if you're throwing out a Dinglehopper in addition to something else onto the board, that is a card you're not inking. So you need to be very careful.
Yeah, so you got to make sure that you've got cards behind it that are going to keep the flow going. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I don't love it in every build, but I do love it in the bodyguard build specifically. If you get a bunch of bodyguards in your Amber draft, or if you go Amber Steel, then it's great. So I've got it at C for that reason. For me, it's a D in some decks and like a B in others. So it depends on where you're at. But
yeah, of the healing commons, I think this is the best because it is repeatable.
Yeah. Tell the people about yourself, sir.
I am a fleshy meatbag, I guess. Ingest food and get rid of it at points. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel that I've been posting a lot of videos on. It's the same as the username here, We Are the Great. You can find me there. I do gameplay videos. I do deck tech videos where I go through my thoughts about putting together constructed decks. I also do I talk about card reveals. I talk about how basic gameplay, like I'm slowly building up a series of how to play videos and things like that. So it's broad stuff. I also do plan to do some more stuff on Disney Villainous as we get more releases from that. We have Introduction to Evil is coming out this week as a revamping of some of the original characters. Then we have the Oogie Boogie standalone for Halloween. Yeah.
I will tell you my least favorite part about reveal season being over is that I don't get the Illumineers room anymore. That was like my favorite part of new drops. This man loves to sing. He loves to put on a show. Even though you already know the cards, go back and watch them because they're really good entertainment.
Oh, I am glad to be able to entertain. And I'm sure the Illumineers room will be back as soon as we get any information on whatever the next set is called.
Yeah, whether it's spoilers or anything, I want to see it back. Any news pieces, just bring out Iago and. Awesome.
Yeah, he will be back. Don't worry.
Thank you so much for joining us, Wero. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate you taking the time. So.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right. See y'all on the next one. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for watching. It's truly an honor to see you enjoying our videos. Thank you to Lorcana.com for having us as one of their featured creators, and thank you to the amazing community coming together around this incredible game. Please like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you'd like to see on our next video. Until next time, if you'd like to continue with us on this journey, please be our guest.